Okay, here's the thing. Auditioning on Zoom can very quickly turn into an actor's nightmare. It always seems that just when you feel ready, something happens. The sound drops out, the signal slows to a jerky crawl, the light behind you falls. It happens all the time. The question is, how do you handle it? How do you move forward with your acting when the Zoom gods decide to crash your acting party? Let's figure this out. This is Casting Actors Cast, the podcast for actors.
This is Casting Actors Cast. Jeffrey Dreisbach brings you insights and inspiration. Make a difference in your acting and your acting career. Here's Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting director partner Jeffrey Dreisbach with the McCorkle Group in New York City. How are you? Hope you're having a good day. I am having a great day, and I am trying to shorten up my opening spiel. So I'm just going to simply encourage you to go to the website if you haven't done so already. Please do check it out. There's all kinds of freebies. There's some books. There are videos. There's just a whole host of things for you. And there's a form that says dive into the talent pool, and that'll open up some additional freebies for you. So I invite you to go to castingactorscast, all one word.com. Castingactorscast.com. So thanks for that. Also, I just wanted to let you know that I'm thrilled. I'm still excited and still kind of growing and learning and figuring out how to work with the Broadway Podcast Network. So if it sounds better, that's great. If it doesn't sound quite the same, I'm changing some studio stuff up. So your feedback would be great. And then finally, speaking of feedback, I'm still looking for folks to be submitting their self-submit video to be viewed and reviewed live on the air. So if you are interested in having your self-tape audition get a review from me, I will do it live on the air. It's a lot of fun. A lot of folks have gotten a lot out of it. And I haven't received that many, so I would encourage you to do so. It's castingactorscast, all one word, @gmail.com. All right, let's talk about this. The dreaded Zoom audition. Oh my goodness. All of the Zoom auditions I've participated in, I can't think of one set of auditions where something didn't happen, whether it was technical or whether it was the actor or, whatever. There are all kinds of mishaps, misfortunate things that take place in that Zoom environment. So I'm going to break it down for you and give you some thoughts about that. Not only talk about some of the technical issues, but then we're going to also talk about some of those acting moments and those acting issues so that you'll get in my mind, you're going to get a really good comprehensive overview so that perhaps you can prepare for your Zoom audition in a very positive, front-footed way. Now, let me also just say that Zoom auditioning is not going to go away, just like self-tape. It's going to be around for a long time. And as the technology gets better, it unfortunately is incumbent upon the actor to also be front-footed about how they're going to stay current with the technology. But my thought is this: please don't overthink it. Please don't stress about that. The situation becomes more complicated the more the technology gets more refined. And so we can make ourselves super crazy about this stuff. So my suggestion, my thought is to just relax, hang in there. Don't worry about it. As things come up or as you maybe get instructions from a casting director about the Zoom call itself, maybe you'll see some additional insights into how to set yourself up in a better way. But let me just go back now and talk about some common technical issues that you might not have considered and should. One, I have to say, sound. Sound is basically the number one issue that I have in terms of being able to fully appreciate your work as an actor. The problem is, if you're using your laptop, the laptop microphones are just not that great. And you've heard me say this on many podcasts before this, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. But the lavalier microphone is a very inexpensive microphone. It's spelled Lavalier. And it looks like a little bug. You've probably seen them if you haven't used them on stage, even. And that is it clips to your lapel. And the one I'm talking about that you should get is the one that has a cord, not the wireless. Don't bother with more technology. The corded one, you can put down your shirt and you can plug it right into your laptop. Make sure it's connected properly in the system settings, and you are golden. The thing about it is, as you work with the lavalier microphone, you're going to be able to adjust your intensity. You're going to be able to make some adjustments vocally, and that will help really clear up any signal loss or sound issues that I have when watching you in a live environment. Sound is critically important. So the lavalier microphone enhances the overall effect of your performance. I promise you. Last time I checked, you can get a really decent lavalier microphone for around 20, 22 bucks. So, no brainer, right? All right, let's move on from there. Lighting. I've talked about three-point lighting before, but let me just address this. I think many times actors just decide to turn on every light they have in the room in the hopes that something magical was going to happen to adjust the lighting. Most of the time, I think the lighting is too harsh. Many of these inexpensive cameras on our laptops, or if you're using your cell phone as a webcam, which is a really cool idea, by the way, because the cell phone cameras are so much superior in quality, the picture, than if you just used your laptop. But in any case, or you could, I think I think I think the iPad is also a really good choice. So depending upon what you're using, lower light has a tendency to be compensated for electronically and really does make you look a lot better than just simply flooding the whole area with light. Now, I'm not suggesting you become a lighting designer. I am just saying that I would request that you look up three-point lighting and you see how that can really help put you in I'm going to say it, in a good light. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Another technical issue is basically the background. What is your background? If you are inviting me into your home and it's your living room and you've set yourself up, that is absolutely acceptable. Just realize that you're inviting people into your personal private space. So you might just want to objectively look at the entire room just to see if there's anything that might be perceived in an uncomfortable or in a how do I say this delicately, in a controversial way. Again, your own personal beliefs and things are yours, and that's great. But ask yourself, is this something you want other people to know about you? That's all. That's the best way to filter that, I think. Also, backgrounds. I've seen actors try to do the Zoom background where they blur the background, the feature that Zoom provides. I think it is really not quite there yet to be successful for you, quite honestly. I don't. Too many times the movement will give me some pixelation of the real background versus the fake background, or the real background versus the pixelated, not the fake background, but the actual background. But as you move, I can still see it going in and out. And frankly, I have to tell you, I think that's really distracting. And you don't want anything to take away from your work. You don't want anything to take me out of the conversation by seeing something technical. So unless the lighting is impeccable, therefore creating that blurry background without any additional noise, unless it's really crispy, that's the word, then I would just simply opt for nothing, no filters, no fake backgrounds, that kind of thing. I think that that would absolutely be the better choice. Now let's move on from there and talk a little bit about the framing of you in the shot. And for those of you who are watching me on YouTube, thanks. Thank you very much. I'm waving to you now. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube, I would encourage you to do so, just because I think because you can watch me doing the podcast as I'm doing it. I just think that it might be more, it might provide a little more information just because of the nonverbal way I'm explaining some of these things. But when you frame yourself in the shot, it's important to be slightly asymmetrical in the frame, looking in the direction of where there is the most space. So if you're slightly stage left, you want to look right and place that significant other 6 to 8 inches away from where you know the lens of the camera to be. So when you frame yourself also, be very, very careful not to have too much headroom. And headroom is the space between the top of your head and the top of your frame. So you're slightly asymmetrical in the frame, and you have very little headroom at the top of your head. And when you're looking directly into the lens of the camera, when you're talking to the powers that be, the creative team in the Zoom meeting, it is very, very comfortable for us. It becomes an assertive, in a good way, presentation for yourself. So the framing is not something to be taken lightly. Please make sure you have it set up before you go into the Zoom room. Present yourself and the Zoom as carefully as you can, because that does make a difference, especially when you are brought into the Zoom room and there you are. Be ready. Too many times in auditions, I'm seeing actors grabbing the script or moving their papers or looking down, or they're staring into the screen, trying to see who's there. I know the tendency is to look at everybody on the screen, but make sure you're placed first. We'll talk a little bit more about the focus in just a second. I also want to share with you some experiences I've had with the Zoom program itself. I've had to, remove and reinstall Zoom on my laptop several times because there are issues with, that the background stuff sometimes is really annoying. I've had it where it's not connected properly to the calendar, so those meetings are completely lost on the calendar. And so I think that this new AI addition that they brought into the Zoom world is problematic, only because it's just taking up more resources and it isn't helping necessarily solve some of the basic problems that we have with Zoom. I certainly wish that there was a Zoom version that was much more simplified and the graphic user interface was a little more easy to navigate sometimes. But it is a fantastic program. There's no doubt about it. But I've said this before. I thought Zoom was a designer drug from Paris before COVID. Yeah, I did. It was like, you want to Zoom? Woo! But in reality, when I found out what Zoom was, I was thrilled because it was such great technology for us, for our ability to continue casting, even during the COVID. It was just really great to have. All right, so Zoom program problems, really it's important that you consider removing Zoom on your desktop and then relaunching it. Re-downloading it, just to make sure that you have a clean install of the program, just so that you might be able to avoid some of those, difficult issues. All right, I've got more, and we're going to talk about the common acting issues on Zoom right after this.
Are you wishing for acting success? Are you ready with audition techniques for theater, film, and television? Are you ready with proven methods for growing your talent? Are you ready to boost your business? It would help if you had a playbook to guide you. Now, there's Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook by Jeffrey Dreisbach. Jeff's Jots at Amazon.com, CastingActorsCast.com, available in paperback, hardcover, or ebook. Stop wishing and start doing with Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for that. So let's talk about some common acting issues on Zoom. I think the number one issue, frankly, is lack of preparation. When you feel unprepared, whether you are prepared or you feel unprepared, those are two different things because it's a feeling and feelings aren't facts. So if you do spend time, then understand that you've done the work you need to do, then you are prepared. But it's when you feel that lack of preparation that it really is a tell that there's an additional amount of energy and nervousness, especially when having the conversation before the actual audition. And that just transmits a level of nervousness and insecurity that really doesn't help you with your work. And so feel prepared. Spend the time in front of the Zoom camera. Record yourself on Zoom and play it back so that you really get a sense of what could I change? What could I make it better? The second issue that I have is visualizing the other character fully. Because you are alone pretty much in your Zoom environment, you've maybe got a screen in front of you that has the creative team, including a reader sometimes. I think it's very, very important because you're feeling alone and you're feeling like the technology is in complete control, that you do not spend time really fully envisioning the character in front of you. So spending time on that other. What do they look like? How are they reacting to what you are saying? And again, it's about 6 to 8 inches away from the lens of the camera, and you want to make sure you're looking proverbially, not literally, but you're looking into the palm of your outstretched hand. And that's where that character is. That's where your energy and your focus goes. You will be so much better off. Because concentrating is one of those things that you think we can't experience, and we can. So really consider a commitment to the other. Even though you're creating that world, it is very, very valuable for us to see that level of concentration. Another issue that I see a lot in the actor's work in a Zoom audition is literally the lack of making moments, for fear of, I don't know, being boring. And I know that speaks to pacing, but I see actors really not giving the full experience of the character's intentions because there's this sense of, oh, if I'm too slow or my pacing is too slow, then I'm going to be boring. And the worst thing in the world is to be boring. You know what? I have yet to see any audition go too slow. I've seen auditions get boring very, very quickly. So first, remove the fear of boredom. As long as you have clear moments and choices that you are making, as long as they're focused and concentrated on the other, that's really impressive in this Zoom bizarro world that we have to deal with. Moving on from there, I think watching your acting while you act is very, very common, that you're taking your own temperature. First of all, you can thank any acting teacher who asked you at the end of any scene work, how did that feel? Anytime somebody asks you, how did that feel? They're asking you to reflect on that third eye that's watching you. And that's, I think, not helpful. So be careful about watching yourself. Really put yourself in the situation of the scene and concentrating with the other actor and having the emotional experience. And our last episode on subtext is a must listen, especially for Zoom. So moving on from there, so that's the acting side of things. But you know that immediate being brought into the Zoom room where you're having a conversation with the director or the producer or casting or whoever it is, there are some common audition issues that I think should be addressed. And believe it or not, I'm still getting some of these issues. So I just want to nip this in the bud. Not knowing where to look. When you're having a conversation, of course, you want to take a look at your screen and see everybody. But once you see them, do your very best to keep your focus and your gaze at the lens of the camera and not down at the screen. The best time to look down at the screen is when the other person has something to say, but always bring your response up into the lens. The more you connect to the lens of the camera, the more we feel a level of confidence and security. And because your focus is going directly to us, it is more impactful. So sometimes people just kind of have this scattered, visual thing going on, and it does not help you at all. Also, I think if you're doing an audition with a reader and the reader is on screen with you, you can do all kinds of things in Zoom, right? You can certainly spotlight the reader if you want, but the problem with that is many times your focus goes to the reader. And when your focus goes to the reader, we're not seeing your eyes. So you can spotlight or pin the reader. That's very helpful because then you're not distracted by watching yourself. But the other thing is try to keep it up, again, into the lens of the camera. When your focus is downward and not to the other, it is not quite as believable as you are thinking. And you certainly need to create moments of believability. Here's another one, and this is in reference to that meeting just before the actual audition, and that is being authentic when you're chatting. Please do not think of that chat as another level of performance. Please identify with and have a conversation with you and the other in as comfortable, friendly manner as you can find. It is not about being distracted. It is not about showing nerves because you're not auditioning yet. It really is the proverbial, when we were live, walking into the room and saying hello. That's the energy we want to see. The only other subtext note I could give you is when walking into a room, I think that there should be this excitement, this energy that you have an opportunity to act. And the subtext is, I can't wait to show you how I'm going to play the part. That goes a long way, especially when you're having that chat before the auditions. Okay, so here's some methods to fix those issues. Take time with your setup. We're talking about the technical as well as the acting. Take time, do the microphone, play around with the lighting, make sure the background is clean, make sure your Wi-Fi is functioning well. If you need to upgrade the Wi-Fi, if it's been a year or two since you've got a new router, you might want to consider a new router. They have all kinds of devices now that take the Wi-Fi signal and intensify it and spread it further. So sometimes that connection is a lot stronger, something to think about. I think you need to rehearse with the scene and adjust as much as you possibly can. Do a test run on Zoom and make sure that the effectiveness of the way you're presenting yourself is impactful. Number 4, update Zoom or reinstall Zoom as needed. Don't just try to work with software that hasn't been updated. Don't work with software that is kind of feeling glitchy. When in doubt, remove it, reinstall it. It takes just a few minutes. It's really a much cleaner, healthier way to approach the work. I also think it's important to create a comfortable space and focal point. Make sure that you are in a good place, that you feel comfortable with the environment that you are in, because that's just going to help you feel better. Make sure you have created the other character in the scene and not direct your energy to other things like the screen, the camera, something else in the room. Listen to the reader for what the character needs and not the actor. You need to simply hear what the character is saying and work with the character as if they're in the palm of your hand, not on the screen. That's a big deal because that can help you with your commitment. That can help you decide how you need to hear it in order to respond effectively in character. Here's an obvious suggestion. Please breathe. Before, during, and after. Just remember, you're in a safe place with folks who want you to be great. Now, you might feel that there's a lot to think about during a Zoom audition session. I think the key is to focus on the task at hand and not wait for the other shoe to drop. Don't anticipate something going wrong. Funny things are going to happen. and they will take place. But it is how you adapt, react, and recover that we can create a place to create and show how you're going to play the part. It's all good when you are in that better place. So, like I said, don't wait for the other shoe to drop. You're in a good place with people who want you to be great. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. You've been listening to Casting Actors Cast.